She was fighting for me before I was even born. Hi, it's Nani, and welcome to the Chronicles of Nani. For this week, I'd like to share a book report that I recorded a few weeks ago, and it's a fantastic book, and I definitely want to share it. So here is my book report. Enjoy. I recently read Being Human by Judith Heumann. And she started with very supportive parents that helped her become who she is. Judith Heumann was born in 1947. At 2 years old, she had polio, and that put her in a wheelchair for the rest of her life. She is a big activist for disability rights, and that started with looking forward to going to kindergarten at 5 years old. The principal said no, send her home, because a wheelchair in school was considered a fire hazard, and because it was a fire hazard, how would they get her out of the school if there was a fire? She couldn't go to school. And her parents fought for, oh yes, she can get to school. And she was, I believe, 8 years old before she finally got to go to school. And there were things with busing and getting kids to school and special classes for children with special needs that were simply if you had assistance of any sort, or if you had a disease or something that made you a slow learner, you were all thrown into the same class. And that wasn't a good thing either, but it got all the fire hazards out of the way. Judith Heumann went on to become a great activist for disabled people. Put it into a class with all the special kids, and kids from 5 all the way up to 17 years old in the same class, because we just don't know where to put you because you're not like everyone else. And that's where things started with becoming somebody that was very active in the civil rights movement. As far as special kids go, she graduated from college and got her degree, different degree than she wanted for a career, because it's a degree that they would not let someone in a wheelchair pursue. So there were a lot of things that were wrong and a lot of things that needed changed. She was instrumental in a lot of things all over the country and eventually all over the world, to help people with disabilities get fair access to become equal members of society, members of their country. I remember watching on TV in 1990 on March 13th, according to my notes. I remember seeing a story on TV about people who had thrown themselves out of their wheelchairs, dropped their assisted devices, and were climbing up the steps of the Capitol building to let Congress know that they had been dragging their butts long enough on the Americans with Disabilities Act, which they had and had been basically stalling to try to do nothing with it. That act of protest, and there had been so many active acts of protest prior to that for many years to get that far, and to be that close and still be denied. That was the absolute desperate show of, let's get the media out here to really cover how much we mean it when we say we want this passed and we want to be equal citizens. We don't want disabilities to be something that the law looks at as making us less than everybody else, because we're not. I remembered seeing that on TV, and I've always been a supporter of total equality. And this is years before I needed it, but I was still supportive of it. Perhaps not in the way that I would be today. But I still supported what was going on, and I appreciated the fact that if they were doing that much to make their point, it was an important point to make. It was July 26th in 1990 that the Americans with Disabilities Act was finally written into law by George H.W. Bush, who was president at the time. And that marked a great point for people with disabilities. It meant that there were interpreters available. I know that I actually got hit by the Americans with Disabilities Act, that I had a deaf person that wanted to take one of the classes that I was teaching in public access. And our company had to supply a sign language interpreter for the first main class because it was given to a large group of people. So it was not, I couldn't, when I have 20 people that I'm giving a speech and giving information to, look at the one person who's deaf so they could read my lips. So we had to have an interpreter in. And I learned a lot about the ADA and what things were necessary to do from the able person side to accommodate someone who has a disability. And it was a little confusing at first because it's something that I wasn't familiar with. I can't say that I studied the law. I knew the law was there, and I was glad the law was there. But it's something that this was in 1993, so the law wasn't that old yet. And it's a pretty extensive law. So it's not something that you read the whole thing, unless you're a lawyer, until you absolutely need it. That's not an excuse for not knowing it, and it's not an excuse for not being prepared. And we did make those preparations, and I had a very good relationship with the public access producer, who was deaf, who could communicate with me by reading my lips when we were working one-on-one. But in a large group, he absolutely had to have somebody doing sign language, because when I'm addressing 20 people and looking at different parts of the group, you can't study my lips. And it was definitely worth doing that. It was worth learning about that. Little did I know, I would start really feeling like I needed to know more about that. But it was a fantastic book to read, and finding out more about Judith Heumann and about the struggles she had when she was younger, and the things that she found strength and people to work with and work for as she became an adult, and through now, working with people, she's never given up the fight of making this world equal for people that are deserve to be just as equal as everybody else. Now that I am a person in a wheelchair, I appreciate that even more. There are a lot of places that, because they're in smaller towns or they just haven't needed to worry about it, don't bother coming up to code for ADA. It's not something that you should be surprised by when you stop at a gas station and you can't go into the store, because there's a ramp that'll get you onto the sidewalk and into the store, but the ice machine is placed right there. And you have a choice of driving into the ice machine or falling off the side of the sidewalk, because there's a curb there and there's no way you can get into the store. As you can see from the photo, that's happened before. We've been there and seen that. When you're in the lobby at a hotel, they've got accessible rooms, and that's not a problem. But you can't get through the lobby to get to the accessible rooms or the hallways or elevators where those rooms are. And that makes the lobby not accessible. If you can't get your wheelchair through the lobby and around furniture in the lobby, it's not really an accessible hotel anymore. I hope you enjoyed my book report for Judith Heumann's Being Human. I thought it was a fantastic book. And as I said during the book report, she was fighting for me before I was even born. Just fantastic. And she's definitely someone that fits my list of important women in my life, even though we've never met, because she has done so much that's made life since I've been in a wheelchair easier than it had been before. And I will always appreciate that. And she makes me want to keep fighting to make it even better for all of us with disabilities. The MS and I'm in a wheelchair is not the only one out there. And we'll talk about that some more in a future episode, I'm sure. But for now, I will say that's it for this week. And feel free to leave comments and hit the subscribe button. Those are both things that always make me smile. And they make me feel happy. And I enjoy doing the vlog. If I see those numbers go up, it's even better. And you can catch the Chronicles of Nani, brand new episode or brand new vlog, every Friday morning at 8 o'clock. We premiere it, so I am there. If you can get there that early and want to see it, we can talk while we're watching it. If not, we can definitely talk through comments, or you can email me at chroniclesofnani@gmail.com. And I answer all of my emails and respond to all of the comments. So until next week, have a fantastic week, and I hope that I'll hear from you, or certainly that you'll see me then.